All right. Yeah, that was great. Give it a shot, guys. Bank statements. I do see them on Loan Sifter, as Peter said, usually at the top five, maybe perhaps top three. So get that going. Okay. So last week, we discussed about, limiting the time with our presenters to about 30 minutes tops, so that for the next 15 to 30 minutes, we could kind of talk about some other in-house, topics really. Ian brought up builders. Okay, so for the next few minutes here, well, wanted to go over builder loans here, kind of by a raise of hands or a nod, if your face is showing, who here has come across a client who said, oh, after looking at resale homes, we decided to go with a builder loan, or the other way around, where they came to you and said, hey, I'm interested in a new build home. Can you compete, right, in pricing and the builder credit? Any raise of hands, nods? Yeah, awesome. Ian, do you want to start with your specific scenario that you wanted to speak of, or you wanted to just kind of get some feedback on how to approach builder loans?
Yeah, I'd like to get everybody's opinion on it. I mean, I've come across multiple times,
Okay.
too many times as of late, right? Because we could all use escrows,
Yeah.
um, and missing out on these opportunities is just,
Yeah.
you know, lack of a better word, pissing me off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's hard to read the contract whether it's really stipulated that they're going to get the money
Yeah.
if they use the lender. It seems
Right.
like it's almost just verbalized, right? I can't find it in the contract that they're on the hook. I don't know if somebody else could read through the verbiage, or maybe it's just basically sleight of hand to where they'll give you the credit,
Yeah.
but then they'll charge you almost equal, if not greater than what they're giving you credit for.
Yeah.
That I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Right. They give them a credit for 50,000, but then their closing cost is almost $30,000.
Yeah.
So one that actually worked for me, where my client's getting $13,000 credit, and I just got the text message that they were approved by the lender, and I said, well, that's great, because now you could say they don't have anything to worry about. You're approved with your lender, so now you're free to explore other options. So I asked my client to go ahead and reach out to the escrow company and say, Ian will be the other lender that I'm exploring options with. But the one thing, and this may be off tangent a little bit, but what I got them to think about is, why don't we do the zero down program? Because they're being required to bring in their own 3.5%, and they're required to bring in about $35,000, and they don't have that. They only have about maybe 20. So I said, let's go ahead and explore my zero down payment, and you're only going to come out with maybe 20. So you save yourself about 15,000, and we can refinance in 6 months. So just kind of like, a heads up for everybody that's competing maybe with the lender, even if they're giving credit, they'll come away with less money to invest to buy a house going zero down. So I think she's going to come over my way. But other than that, yeah, how do I compete better other than the zero down program, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had the fortune a couple of times of building out a couple of builder contracts when I was with Stearns Lending. Let me say this: not that your framework should be going in, but it's this way. But it's to set an expectation. For me, for my own health and my level of anxiety and stress, I always go in when I'm competing with a builder that I'm going to lose. Okay. I'm going to explain that though, but understand it's for your own anxiety, right? Because like you said, when you're in a tough market like we're in right now, and your only deal right now, and I'm not saying it is, but for those of you who may come across a situation where you got to finally a deal, an agent refers you a client, client says, hey, I'm looking at new build homes, right? Before I'm like, oh man, I'm stressing out. I'm every other word is a cuss word, and I'm like, dang it, I'm not gonna get this. Now it's just immediately, look, I got a slim chance at this. I'm gonna give it a good crack at it, but I don't want to lose my energy, my time, my focus, my resources on trying to vie for this one lead here. Okay, so that being all said, Do you guys all know what how the builder world works? Do you guys know that? Do you know what it kind of entails? Okay, so in short, okay, it's usually in many ways in one, it's a joint venture between the builder themselves and a lender. Okay, so obviously over time relationships are built, and it just happens like that. It's a renewal of a contract. But let's just say Ricky, goes to this new spot where they're building new homes. You get in touch with the office, a manager, supervisor, whoever, because there's usually a lead builder who runs it on the forefront and say, hey, look, I'm a lender. This is what I can do. Would you be interested in creating a JV? I can promise you this A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the builder's like, hey, you seem like a good guy. Let's look at it, right? So you're going to then naturally sit down with the higher ups to be, and you're going to form a contract, right? You're going to look at the pricing. You're going to look at rebates. They're going to look at how much you as a loan officer want to make, and then ultimately to determine how much they can pass down to the borrower as an incentive. Guys, all it is at the end of the day is these investors, they have a pot. They have a number of how much in reserves they're willing to forego to entice buyers, okay? The rest of it comes from you, the lender. So usually what lenders will do is, this is on the back end. Now, as a broker, I don't think we have this kind of a setup. I don't know. That's something that Peter has to talk to. But when you're with the direct lender, you look at the pricing sheet, or the rate sheet that we're working off of, and there's going to be a set amount of, hey, we'll commit 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever, okay? And then that pricing sheet now is going to be adjusted according for the lender, okay? It's not rocket science. It's not magic, okay? Lender commits a pot, and the builder / the investor, they commit a pot. And that's what it is at the end of the day. So now, for us, when we're competing, just know this: many a times, not always. The takeaway here, Ian, is this: number one is many a time builder rates are and can be higher than the market rate. Okay, not always, because again, it depends on that pot they're working with, a reserve amount they're working with. Know that every builder, whether it's Landsea, Keho, Nanian, whatever, obviously Lennar, KB Homes, there's a bunch out there, and right now there's a lot of smaller ones. They've got this down to an exact science. Some of them offer agent commission, a flat rate of $1,000 to $2,000. Some of them are a percentage. The most generous one right now that I know of is Landsea Homes. Landsea Homes still gives out, I think, 1% to the agent. Whereas KB Homes or Lennar right now, they only give you $2,000. That's it. That's all that the agent's going to work for. So there's a lot of agents out there that are going to also determine, do I really want to represent this client or not? Because depending on the builder, right, and who the buyer, the project that the buyer wants to go with, they may not make much at all, if any. I know an agent that got $500 from KB in Rancho Cucamonga. Okay, that's all they were giving, $500 to the agent. So the agent said, I don't care, I don't want to do this. So she just decided to let the clients go. Okay, so there's that end of it. But on our end, yeah, every builder is different. 15, I've seen as little as 5,000. I think common is about 12 to 15,000. Once in a while, you'll see a Richard something Homes. They gave out $30,000 in lender credit. Okay, if you go with their, or lender credit, if you go with their preferred in-house lender. Again, so knowing that those are the mechanics, my framework when I go in is, one is I'm always pricing at par. Okay, I'm pricing at par just to give yourself a shot. Okay, so a client comes to you, hey, Ian, I'm interested at Keho Nanian Properties. They're offering me $10,000 credit. This is their rate. Always get their rate, because most likely it's going to be a higher rate. Okay. again, the lender side, they've committed a pot to the lender credit to the builder to pass on to the seller, be it 5,000 or whatever it is. So the rates are going to be a little bit higher. Okay, that, and typically loan officers are going to make less money. So knowing that, you have to be willing to make less too. Okay, don't think you're going to make 1.2 points on this. Okay, you're putting yourself in a losing situation already. So what I typically do is I price out at maybe a quarter or at par, just for them to hear it and be like, "Hey, that's a really good rate. I want to consider Ragnar or Ian as a player in this, right? Because if you quote them at, you with a rebate of 1 or 2, you're done. They're not even going to consider you. All because they've already been told I'm getting $15,000, $10,000. They're just going to go with that regardless of that rate. Okay, so you have to give yourself a winning chance up front by quoting them with you making at most. I don't even think half a point is going to work. A quarter, or again, I got par. Just quote them the par rate. Okay, knowing that there's 6 months, 9 months of play here. Now, things can change so much, right? But you want to be at least be able to sit at the table, so to speak, with them. Okay. At that point, once you do get closer, 60 days out, 90 days out. Again, I don't know if Peter's going to like me saying this or not, but again, we at GivingTree, we do have the ability to app with several different lenders. Okay. So you're going to have that advantage to play with the rates. If the rate is really good and it seems like it's going up, you can lock it once you're 60 days out. Obviously, longer the lock rate period, the worse the pricing is going to get. And then have another app ready to go because, yeah, it is going to be nickel and diming there at that point. I have only one time in 15 years successfully was able to get the builder to commit their $15,000 to me, not being their preferred lender. The guy is now since no longer there. It was a Landsea home in I don't know if Brenda's listening, but it was a day writ file. It's actually closed here, maybe not. But in any case, they committed, and the guy Brian, he's no longer with the company, but he was able to commit $15,000 even though they use an outside lender. It was one time in 15 years. So on that note, don't expect that to happen. That's very rare to happen. I understand that was very rare. I don't know if the guy got fired because of it, but again, he's no longer with the company. So that additional credit is going to come out of your pocket and your pricing. Okay. And Ian, there's probably not much else that I can say that's going to help you here, but that's about it. Just understanding the mechanics of it. Again, you want to be able to sit at the table, so quote them a par rate. You're going to convince the buyer more or less that, hey, we can't get you that 15,000, but here, let me see what I can do to get you as much lender credit, and hoping that most likely that your rate is going to be lower. So you're going to be enticing them with a lower rate with some credit, hopefully. So that you're going to have to kind of gauge on the market pricing. I've given out $5,000, $6,200 in lender credit to just win the deal. But that did mean me making, I don't know if I could remember off the top of my head, like $600. Okay, on a builder home, I have made $600, right? But you're doing that to establish the relationship with the agent, relationship with the buyer, and potentially that relationship with the builder. So that's the last thing I will say is when you perform well, it is also something to go back to the builder and say, hey, we close this loan with a better rate, with some credit. The next time you start on a project, let's talk. Right? Because you're really vying for not each an individual transaction. You really want to land that contract with that builder for the next phase. That's the bigger thing. That's a bigger ticket that you're really, really should be aiming for, not one-offs. Because I'm telling you right now, Ian, if you're trying to make a point or two on a builder home, or someone that's buying a new build home, you're wasting your energy and you're wasting your time. It's not going to happen. You're not going to win. You're not going to make $10,000, $20,000 on a deal. And even if you get that. So, but the bigger thing is trying to land a contract. That's what we were taught at Stearns, right? And that's actually how we got in. We beat everyone's pricing out. Builder was impressed. So there was, I don't know if you're familiar with this area, but help me out here. 605, 210, that area, not El Monte.
Monrovia, Duarte.
Monrovia. Monrovia area. Was a 128 unit project. We won that over at Stearns. And it fed us for like 9 months. Like we were living cush, right? That's what your goal should be at the end of the day when it comes to coming to builder homes.